July marks the annual street festival in the city of Nottingham, a celebration of the bright, bold artworks that have become a staple feature of our city centres. While street art has been around for decades, it's only in recent years that it's started to be seen as legitimate art. By speaking to the organisers and the artists involved, we'll explore the transition over the years.
So I'm a professional artist. I work full-time as a graffiti artist or a street artist, but I'm a painter. I don't like labels, I'm just a painter. So we run a street art festival for an entire month in July. It's part of Surface Gallery. It's an open submission show, so anyone is welcome to submit work into that show. The idea being that we wanted to give the opportunity for people to make art in the community. There's a lot of graffiti writers, a lot of street artists in this city. We're lucky to have Montana, a Montana shop here, best sort of paint product in the world. And it's generated a lot of artists ultimately. So giving the opportunity for everyone to exhibit and do stuff in the city was our agenda. We're in our 4th year now. This year we wanted to take the work out of the gallery and put it into the street. So we've taken over the entire block in Sneinton. We've got a Function One sound system. It's all about that, the community. It's all about people being involved, basically. Our agenda was to bring the gallery event out here, give some of the graffiti guys the opportunity to paint some bigger walls.
I guess really, the purpose of the Open or the festival is just to give people a chance that wouldn't normally have the opportunity to show their work in a gallery, to get involved with the Street Art Open, show their work. It doesn't matter if you're a hobbyist or an experienced artist, everyone gets to show their work side by side. So it's a very democratic thing, and all the work that comes in goes up. Our only criteria is if you can get it through the door, we'll display it.
By getting artists involved who might usually shy away from the traditional exhibition environment, we have to question whether this is an early step in the transition of absorbing street art into the old guard of the art establishment.
I think there are a lot of crossovers. I have trouble really defining what street art is these days. It's certainly not just wild style graffiti writing anymore. We've got this great portrait at the top of the alleyway here by Peter Painter, which is miles away from, tagging and stuff like that. So it's very accomplished. He gets very big commissions. The boundaries between these various kind of styles are really getting kind of erased and crossed out, and it's very hard to sort of pigeonhole street art now. I think it is getting more acceptable, and it's certainly really quite fashionable and trendy at the moment. But the top end of street art is technically accomplished. It's conceptually quite knowledgeable. So it's the best of it deserves to be seen maybe in a more formal context as well.
Well, I mean, in recent years, there's definitely been a shift, and more people are now embracing graffiti and as a kind of legitimate art form, and the term street art kind of comes from that. But a lot of people are still quite unreceptive to it, and maybe they think it's got kind of negative connotations, or they're more into the kind of classic art establishment and they're not ready to accept it. But I think when it comes down to it, art is subjective, so that's fine. But I wish people would kind of be a bit more kind of open to it. But the thing you've got Surface and I think the Art Exchange as well are holding graffiti art events and street art events and getting behind the community in Nottingham. So it's great to have that kind of promotion of the art and be given a platform to show our work.
Graffiti exists on the street, that's one thing. Graffiti exists on the street. Art exists in the gallery. I think there's a real crossover and a fine line between the two now. That might be down to certain artists we won't mention, who've become household names, maybe, you know, as big as people like Andy Warhol. And that's given a little bit of an opportunity for other artists to make their own work ultimately in the community and be a bit more accepted. I think Nottingham County Council's attitudes towards things have changed. The Creative Quarters kind of changed things up a little bit. We are the biggest art show in the city without fail. We do bigger numbers than Nottingham Contemporary, we do bigger numbers than the New Art Exchange, and we are a voluntary-led organisation. If that don't speak volumes, I don't know what does. Taking that show and putting it out in Sneinton was our major agenda this year. Running an old school block party, so that's what we've done.
Just as the art world has accepted street art, we are now starting to see growing acceptance amongst wider society, with attitudes changing in the public, business, and even change in the authorities that have fought against the illegal side of this art for so long.
You know, street art has moved on a lot from, say, the 80s and you know, bombing trains and all this sort of stuff. Now, I mean, there is a councillor in Nottingham. His brief was to change the image of Nottingham from Shottingham to something more positive. But he was very hostile toward street art. And whenever you talk to him, you avoid the G word, graffiti, because he just associates it with dereliction, turf wars, guns, and gang culture. But now, you know, I think you can associate it more with an attempt to reclaim decaying areas, and it's more to do with maybe urban regeneration.
It feels like some parts of Sneinton, the investment is maybe gone in the wrong direction, or people haven't got a control of how they want their streets to be. We're bombarded with advert after advert after advert, and that's quite negative. So to get some very high quality artists involved making street art or graffiti or murals or paintings or whatever you want to call it on the streets in Sneinton is good for the community. All of these buildings were in a terrible state. No money had been invested with them. So our idea was to come in as artists and say, we will make these buildings better. We will give you some art for free. And it will improve this area completely. And we've got a street gallery. We've got a gallery in the street, and it's permanent, it's staying there.